This episode of the Infamous Podcast is brought to you by CBS All Access. Looking for a new streaming service to add so you can watch more stuff? Check out CBS All Access. Hit up infamouspodcast.com/CBS and you can get a free 1-week trial to CBS All Access and check out things like Star Trek Discovery, Picard, Survivor, all the other cool stuff that CBS has to offer. Star Trek Discovery, I said that already. You should really watch that. So hit up infamouspodcast.com/CBS to learn more. Hey, welcome back to the Infamous Podcast. This is Brian. With me is Darryl. Thank you, Julian, for being a patron. Go check out patreon.com/Infamous Podcast. This week, we're brought to you by CBS. Lower Decks, the animated Star Trek cartoon, lands soon. I think it's like August 6th, August 4th, something like that. So that is actually kind of a cool thing that's worth checking out. And Darryl, could I have put more stuff into the first 13 seconds of the show?
I know. Did you even take a breath?
No, I didn't. Not one.
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned Lower Decks, but do you know the Arthur John Scalzi? He's known for Old Man's War.
Yeah.
For other one, he has a book called Red Shirts, which is kind of like a satire on the whole Star Trek thing.
That's awesome.
I read a sample of it. I think I actually might get it because it's pretty funny.
That's very cool.
It's like they have this ensign, like the opening scene is it's the captain and the away team stranded on a rock because this like underground trimmers type creature is there, and one of the ensigns is like, hey, I can make it. And he does. Spoiler alert, he doesn't make it.
Spoiler, he doesn't. So, on the Going Geek News blog that I used to do, my 404 page, it says, like, when you get to a page that doesn't exist, it says this page has been red-shirted. Be on back over to the homepage to try again.
So that's funny.
Yeah.
In college sports, when you get you get that extra year when you're usually when you're a freshman, you get redshirted.
Yeah, or in the case of Alex Moran, you try and redshirt your junior year.
Yeah, that's true.
Little Blue Mountain State there. Little Blue Mountain State there.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that usually happens for injuries.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So all right. So this week we have some news. We are reviewing a really interesting indie comic called Malek, Reigning Devil. Thus, the title is Actor versus Devil. And we are doing another Actor versus Actor segment. Darryl picked an actor who I know who he picked because he told me. And I picked an actor who I will not tell Darryl until we get to that segment.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm a fan of that, being in the dark like this.
You don't like being in the dark? So.
Which is funny because I'm actually in the dark right now because it also looks like it's about to storm outside, and I turned off the lights. So
I'll give you a hint.
Dark in here.
It's not Macaulay Culkin. Although if it was Macaulay Culkin for The Great, hands down the good son. So anyway.
That's actually a good one.
It's so good.
That's a really good one.
All right. So Comic-Con at home is going on right now. And we're not covering that today. So we'll talk about that next week. And we'll do next week, we're going to give a little Umbrella Academy prep to get ready for season 2, which will come out the day after we record next week. So look forward to that in 2 weeks. But to kick off today, DC Universe is no longer offering their yearly subscription. The yearly subscription was something like $49.99 or something like that. It's pretty cheap.
Yeah. Right.
Now it's just $7.99 a month, which is weird. And then they canceled all the people who had yearly memberships.
Yeah, that is... like from a business perspective standpoint, that is like customer service wise, that is pretty terrible.
It's really weird. Now, so the weird thing is not all of the stuff from the DC Universe is on HBO Max yet. Doom Patrol has moved over there. Harley Quinn, the Harley Quinn cartoon is moving over there in August. But like Titans hasn't moved over yet. And I don't think Titans is going to move over. I think they're going to try and bilk people for $8 a month to watch Titans.
Which, again, going back to being customer service wise, just the whole rollout. I had some issues with, HBO Max and how they rolled it out, and how, HBO Max and, HBO Now versus HBO Go. They just have not done a good job in putting a package together that makes sense and that is easily understandable.
Right.
And again, this is just, it's funny because it just reminds me of the DC universe.
Yeah.
The cinematic universe is just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing, okay, does this stick? Yeah. Okay, that's not sticking. We can ignore that. Oh, this is sticking, so let's do something with that. But yeah, it's just poorly executed.
Yeah, it is. And I think the whole DC part of HBO Max is a little poorly executed because a bunch of the stuff is coming off soon. But like, it's got some of the cartoon movies. It's got Batwoman. It's got Beware the Batman. It's got this superhero girl stuff. It's got that stupid ass Ray cartoon. I don't know if you watched that on the CWC.
No.
Green Lantern is on there. Yeah, Joker, Justice League, and then it's got the Flashpoint cartoon, which everybody loves, but I think is awful because the comic is so much better. It's got the Helena Slater Supergirl, Superman the movie, and then 1, 2, and Quest for Peace, or 1, 2, 3, and A Quest for Peace. It's got the good Teen Titans cartoon, and Watchmen the series, Watchmen the show, or Watchmen the movie, and then Wonder Woman. And I mean, there's some other stuff on there, but there's not a lot, and it's like touting as like they have all this DC stuff. Oh, Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker, but there's so much more. Like, I don't understand. Like, why isn't Static Shock on here? Why isn't on HBO Max? Why isn't all this cool ass stuff on here that's supposed to, that should be on there?
And is there any, and this is the thing where I'm talking about just poor communication. If there are some types of issues, like, again, one of the things you mentioned to me is how the Fox movies have, will initially not go on the Plus, but Disney Plus before they go on HBO Max.
I mean, it could be.
If there's something like that, you need to communicate this stuff.
Like, because I don't think Batman or Superman animated series are on Amazon anymore as Prime. They were, but I don't know if they still are. Static was never on there. Batman Beyond was never on there.
Nope. Yeah. Right.
So it's like, this is all stuff that they've just been sitting on, and great. Where is it? Why can't we watch it? Batman, which I think is the most underrated Batman cartoon of all time. Brave and the Bold, where is it? The Lego Batman stuff, where is it? It's just, it's really weird, the things that they pick to put on there. Superman versus the Elite should 100% be on there, and that was never on either one of them.
Oh no, where did I watch that one at?
Probably here at my house.
No, I watched that one a long time ago on a streaming service, but I don't remember if I rented it or not.
Yeah,
it's been over a year, so
okay. That's a great one. That's one of my favorites.
That was really good.
But so I don't know. I think it's really weird that they did it like this. I think, hanging their hat on Doom Patrol seems really weird. And then the whole Swamp Thing being canceled before it even aired, or after the first episode aired. It's like, what are you doing?
And now that's going. Now they're that's playing on the CW now.
Yeah, well, they don't have anything to play. Oh yeah, like, where's Stargirl on here, right? Like, Stargirl is doing unedited episodes on the DC Universe app, but like, that makes way more sense to have it on HBO Max. Yeah,
and then again, we talked about this a few weeks ago, how some of the DC movies, like, was it Wonder Woman? A few of the DC movies are going to go off, and then they're going to come back, though. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't pretend to like get why they do what they do when they do. But all right, that's something.
I just thought of the song when you said that.
Oh.
Why don't you do what you do when you did what you did?
I always quote Christopher Turk from that when he's like, I do what I do when I do what I do. So, anyway, little Scrubs callback there. All right, let's talk about movies, just in particular. So finding this article was much harder than you would think it was. The title, and this is in the linked in the show notes, but it's from JoeBlow.com. NATO chief believes movies should release in theaters despite the pandemic. Try searching Google. Try Googling NATO, and you get North American, free trade stuff. And it's like, no.
So
this is the National American Theater Organization, whatever.
So I am not gonna lie. The first thing I thought when I saw NATO, I was like, "What in the hell does NATO have to do with any?" Yeah. So I admit, yeah.
But it's also called the National Theater Owners Association, so NTOA is what it should be. So I don't know. Anyway, their chief president guy is a guy named John Fithian, which that's very fun to say, Fithian. Came out and he said he actually said this, and this is going to play into some stuff we're gonna talk about here in a minute as well. Distributors should stick to their dates and release the movies because there's no guarantee that more markets will open up later this year. Until there's a vaccine that's widely available, there will not be 100% of the markets open. Because of that, films should release in markets where it is safe and legal to release them, and that's about 85% of the markets in the U.S. and even more globally. They should release their movies and deal with the new normal. Studios may not make the same amount of money that they did before, but if they don't start distributing films, there's going to be a big hole in their balance sheets. This is a $42 billion a year business. Most businesses would take 85% instead of 0, which is what will happen if they wait for all the movie markets to open up. I could not agree more.
100%
with that statement.
Absolutely.
We've been saying this for a little while now, and I've been preaching for a couple years now to anybody who will listen. The movie business, the theater business is fundamentally broken, and they need to go and treat this like big video game releases.
Yeah, I remember you were just talking about that recently.
And it should be like, yes, they should be in theaters for people who want to go to theaters. And it should be available for purchase day and date for people who want to purchase it. None of this renting bullshit. Because I tell you right now, if the only way I can watch a movie is to rent it for $19.99, I'm waiting until it comes out.
I'm waiting.
And then I'm not buying it for full price. I'm waiting for that price to drop again just because, I'm not going to go pirate it. I'm too old for that. I'm too old for this shit to go pirating things. But, at the same time, like, you have movies like Tenet that keeps getting pushed back, and now it's been pushed back indefinitely. And the movie's so overhyped at this point, I have zero interest in seeing it. Zero. Where I was kind of interested in it before.
Yeah, and what did I tell you about Tenet? Like, we're just using that as an example. As far as being overhyped, it could be a great movie, but like the more I see the trailer, I'm not sure. I do want to see it, but I will say the same thing that you just said. My interest is dying down to see that movie.
Right. Yeah.
To go into this whole thing, he's absolutely right. And one of the things you talked about, you were telling me about, the whole insurance business with movies being written off. Look, it's going to be a long time before some people, even with a vaccine, are going to want to go to the theater. And some people aren't going to go to the theater anymore.
Yeah.
You're never going to have that, I'm just going to use 100%, for instance, before all this started. You're never going to have that now for various reasons.
Well, I think one thing to consider is, New York and LA aren't open, right?
Yeah.
You know where movies make money, the most amount of money? It's everywhere but New York and LA. It's the fact that people in the middle of the country go, when you have people from Pennsylvania to Colorado, Nevada, whatever, going to see movies 2 and 3 times, that's how your movie makes money. Not because people in New York and LA. And yes, they are big, big cities, right? But
but there's a lot of stuff to do in those cities
there's
too.
so much other things to do. And the other thing is, like, LA is definitely a movie town because that's where, Hollywood is. But those people don't go see movies. They go to the premiere for free.
Yeah.
And like all the people I know out there who are involved in media in some way never ever pay for movies because they go to screenings and they don't need to go back and see them. And if they do, they get to go to multiple screenings. And it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, I mean, it is what it is, but like, come on, guys, like the coasts are exceedingly less important in the new normal of the world.
Yes. And with the theater, like it's just there are people like me that are waiting for the theaters to open and not just have the theaters open, but to have a good movie to go see when they open.
Like I was going to go see that stupid Russell Crowe road rage movie because I want to go see a movie.
Yeah.
And it got pushed back until God knows when.
So yeah, I went to, was it last Friday when I had the day off? I went to Florence, which is where the big movie theater is. And I'm driving past, and I'm like, for a split second, I was like, I wonder what's playing, because those are the times where I just randomly, when I have a day off, I'll just go to the movie, check something out. But yeah, they need to start releasing stuff and not trying to wait until the coast is clear. And that's what it seems like they're doing. Yeah. But you're doing yourself a disservice because, again, there's going to be all these movies, and some of the bigger movies might be able to get away with it maybe, but with all these movies getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, there's going to be less screens to see some of these smaller movies. Yep. So if anything, if I'm some of these smaller movies, like the Russell Crowe, that shit out there. Yep. People are going to go to the movies. Yep. Not as many as you want. No. But people like me, people like you, we're going to go to the movies.
Yeah. I mean, so China, this goes into our next story. China's reopening theaters much, much faster. They reopened everything on July 20th. Whereas in the U.S., it's currently estimated that about 1,500 of the 5,000 theaters are open, plus 300 drive-ins, which, are what accounts for the weekend box office for things. But no, I mean, China is open. But then the other thing that's going on here is cinemas can't book any movies with a runtime over 2 hours right now. Their auditoriums must be under 30% capacity with meter distance between each moviegoer. Movie theaters will provide mask, gloves, sanitizers to all employees and attendees, and of course a rigorous cleaning routine with at least 2 times disinfection a day for public areas such as the lobby, theaters, washrooms, and hallways, and at least 5 times disinfecting the ticket machine each day, vending machines, public chairs, key areas. So I mean, they're definitely like. And first off, China's a bullshit country full of bullshit stuff right now. But like they're right here. They're opening this stuff now. I think limited it to 2 hours is really silly. I'm afraid that the U.S. filmmakers are going to be like, oh well, let's just start pumping out everything to be 90 minutes long now, and we're just going to get a bunch of truncated shit that we have to buy the director's cut to see the full non-China version. Yeah.
Now I'll say this: if there's a way for you to keep me away from the movies, is doing some shit like that. Yep. Because I won't be going to see movies like that. Yeah. So yeah, they need to just stop sitting on your hands and stop being so scared and just saying, hey, like the guy said, like was it 50? And he said, 85% is better than nothing. Yeah. Every time.
Yep. Okay, so real quick, this just broke. Bill and Ted Face the Music will go to theatrical and video on demand over Labor Day weekend. So, you're gonna get to, you can either go see it or you can rent it at home. Great. Yeah. Let me buy it at home. Don't let me rent it, but it's gonna be a rental because that's what they're doing right now. Anyway, so yeah, it's things like that. Or the article you sent me a little bit before we started. Mulan is off the calendar. It is like Tenet. It is
TBD.
Yeah, TBD, indefinitely postponed. Which is weird. You know, Mulan should definitely come out. Avatar is delayed. They've delayed the Star Wars movies by 1 year for the studios to adjust to the pandemic. And I mean, this is what 50th is talking about. You're going to run into a spot where you have all these other movies, because guess what? Movies are going to start being made again. And you're going to tell me you're going to push everything back. New Mutants is supposed to come out on August 28th, like you said. The Personal History of David Copperfield goes from August 14th to August 28th in limited release. Matthew Vaughn's The Kingsman is September 18th now. You know, it's just, yeah, I don't know. It's just, you know, it's sad. It's just, this is the one, like, you know, you and I bonded over, you know, movies. Like we met at work. And I made fun of your Buffy dolls, and you made fun of my action figures. And, you know, you had that Spawn statue that was really cool. And they were like, hey, let's go see Iron Man, because, you know, we both like comic books. And even though you don't like comic books anymore. So, but anyway. But yeah, so, I mean, to me, this is sad. Like, I don't think, did we even get to go to we didn't even go see our, like, big, like, Friday, let's take the day off and go find a cool place to eat a burger and watch a movie.
No, what was the last one? Was it maybe Brightburn?
Brightburn last year.
No.
Brightburn was the last one we did. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, man, I really like that movie. I know it got torn apart, but I really like that movie.
I really like that movie too. So, I really enjoyed it.
But yeah, so, you know, it's just, there's all this stuff happening right now, and it's horrible, right? But, you know, if you can distance people, and, you know, they keep talking about putting plexiglass up, and I really hope they don't do that, because it's going to put, like, really weird glares and, like, please don't do that. But anyway, so yeah, let's reopen the movie theaters so we can have some fun stuff to do.
Hashtag open theaters. I would say hashtag, like, I would do that, but I'm not on that foul piece of garbage that is Twitter. So
yeah, I'm on less and less every day. So, anyway, all right. So up next, we got a chance to a guy named Jeffrey Haas reached out to me with his comic. It's called Malek, Reigning Devil #1. #2's in the works. He actually sent me some of the pages. #2, it looks really cool. And this was a really interesting comic, and the subject matter is definitely up your alley more than mine. And
yes, very much so.
It was just it was funny because he sent this to me right after our Warrior Nun coverage came out. So, you know, it's in that vein as well. But it's a story where a new devil reigns in hell, betrayed by God. The fallen angel Malek is burning to get revenge. You know, I read way more indie books than you do, just in general. Right. And I really, really like the story. Jeffrey is the writer-creator. I really liked this whole take on, you know, the person who kills the devil replaces the devil sort of a thing that is going on here. And, you know, this was what Palpatine was trying to get Rey to do. But then she did, and he didn't take her over. Okay. It's so weird.
Anyway, yeah.
Anyway, and then the art is from Julian Manuel Almiron, I think is how you say that. Colors are by Chris McAuley. Editor and letterer is Phoebe A. Xavier, and covers by Edwin Rwothomio, I guess is how you'd say that. Anyway, Rwothomio. I personally, like, as far as indie goes, like, this is definitely a cool style, and it's a style all their own, and I appreciated it. I know you're kind of more used to the mainstream books, so you're not necessarily quite as used to this look and feel.
Right, and it's funny. Like, I like how you know, one of the things it really popped out with the coloring of it. I really like the color. And from an artwork perspective, yeah, the art, you know, for me, again, I'm not a huge into indie comics. I'm actually, you know, haven't been into, like, consistently into comics for a while now. So, like, it does take getting used to the artwork and things like that. However, like the story itself and the premise of it, I really, really, really liked.
And so this is a continuation of a story that was in the Gunmetal Black Ops #1 anthology about Malek killing Lucifer. I love Malek's design.
Yeah, and so one of the things, so that was one of the only issues I had with the story itself was just how quickly he killed Lucifer, like in one page. And I thought that there could have been something better there as far as drawing out that conflict instead of just being like boom. So, but you saying that this is like a continuation from something else.
So like there was essentially it's like a short story that they did the first part of it in, and then here we go with the second part. But I understand what you're saying and how it can be a little weird to kind of step into something that the world already exists without a lot of build up. But what a lot of these indie writers do, which I've always appreciated, is they kick the story right off. They don't worry about world building right away. They just get you. They get you with that hook, and then around issue like 4, 5, whatever the second arc, they'll go back and do like the origin story, which I think is a really cool way to do it.
I actually in that type of I actually don't mind that then.
Yeah.
Again, that's like just my inexperience with the medium of indie comics.
I know, noob.
I actually do like I like when TV shows do that.
Yep.
When
same.
I really do, because it's different. So that does change things a little bit for me. One of the things I couldn't help but think about, with the idea of you kill the devil, you become the devil. It reminded me of Chronicles of Riddick. You keep what you kill.
Yep, exactly. And he does kind of have that same look, right? As the Carl Urban's character as the necromonger there. I do like that when he takes over and everything, and then the angel Gabriel comes to him. And then they're like, yeah, well, we've got Masset, who's going to come and take hell from you now. And we've created, like, Malek, you were made to kill Lucifer, and now we've made someone to come kill you. And I do like how they keep leaving out the part that you lose your wings when you go to hell and then heaven is shut off to you. It's like, would you take that deal if you were, an angel,
seraphim?
Right. But I like the flaming swords. I like it when he finally like pulls all of hell together. But I think the really cool part, and being that Paradise Lost is one of my favorite books of all time, I loved it in high school and I've reread it a few times, is he goes through all 9 circles of hell trying to consolidate power, which apparently no one's ever tried before. I just found that like that was just a really like stroke of coolness for me.
And it's funny. It's very funny that as he stays in here, he becomes more of the mantle of the devil. And the whole philosophical beware that in fighting monsters you don't become one.
Yep.
He's becoming one, and he's actually embracing it just because of his his hard on for vengeance.
Yeah, so. I mean, he has to embrace it too because they send an assassin after him who is more powerful than him. But yeah, it was just really, like there's a line. He goes, my wings burned so I can enter hell. I killed one of our brothers at God's command so I could walk amongst the damned. And then Gabriel replies, and the Lord thanks you for your service. Now you must really calm down. Hell's not been kind to your demeanor. It's like, oh my God, you're an asshole. Like,
that's kind of like the angels on Supernatural, which
absolutely,
Dean always calls
right?
them. They always call them dicks. Yeah. This concept is one of those. I would love something like this to be made into like some type of just a miniseries.
Yeah,
TV
just a little animated thing. Because animated, like this Spawn animated series where it's
that would be
adult.
Awesome.
Like I think this would be great for that. I also think like the Catholic League would be really upset with this, and that group about like the parents groups who hate everything that comes out.
Yeah.
So yeah, but no, you're absolutely right. Like, an 8 episode, like finish the story, 8 episode thing. Let's get like Malek's, sitting in heaven, eating an apple, playing a harp, before he gets chosen. Or like get a training montage of him like training to beat the devil, like Rocky style.
Training montages are always.
So they could go to Russia and he can run up the mountain and
the Russian steps.
Yeah, he could do the mountain, and then he could do the moving the rocks and putting Adrian in the rickshaw or the the wheelbarrow and picking her up, and yeah, that would be epic.
I'm in for that.
Yeah. Anyway, so no, it's just a really good comic. What was I just had I have the link. Hold on. I gotta go to my notes. But yeah, no, it's really good, and it is. I did not put the link in. Okay, I'll put the link in the show notes of where you can find it. But it's really, really good, and it's well worth checking out. And I know Jeff has a bunch of other books and things that he's got out and everything, and it's well worth checking out. And I'll link to all of that stuff in the show notes. Cool.
Sounds good.
All right, are you ready?
I'm ready
for the SmackDown of all SmackDowns.
That's kind of like overselling, right? Don't you think?
Sunday.
You're it sounds like you're channeling your inner Tenet right now.
It's just that my actor is better than your actor. So
okay, could be.
Well, you picked a movie star.
Technically, but he's been in several TV shows as well. He has.
I picked an actual actor who's a character actor. So, my actor is Billy Crudup, who is one of my favorites. I love him. But yeah, all right. So you're Christopher James Pratt, or Christopher
Pratt, yep.
Christopher Tiberius Pratt. What movies did you pick for him?
Pick The Great is.
Hey, you broke up there.
Role.
Start over.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's why I stopped.
Yeah.
So I picked.
So just talk about the roles first instead of what's in the good, the great, like the not so great.
Oh, so it's just his.
Yeah. So pick the roles. Pick the roles that you pick. So like I did 4 because I have 2 under the great. But yeah. So okay, let's hold on. Let's reset. Okay. So in this segment, we talk about roles they picked in, and we pick a role where they were good, one where they were great, and a role that they probably should try to avoid in the future. Like maybe they just weren't right for that role. So my roles for Billy Crudup are Almost Famous, Without Limits, Watchmen, and Mission Impossible 3. And I'll let you guys figure out which ones is which before I get that. So which ones did you pick for Chris Pratt?
Oh, excuse me. So with Chris Pratt, it's Andy Dwyer in Parks and Rec, Peter Quill in Guardians Volume 1, and Josh Faraday in The Magnificent Seven.
Cool. Okay, why don't you start with your good?
So the good is Andy, and him as Andy Dwyer in Parks and Rec. Now, even before he was in Parks and Rec, he had a major role in that show Everwood.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, jeez. I'm sorry. I had hope you probably can't hear that. Just sirens everywhere.
They're coming for you. Hurry up and finish.
I didn't do it. It was the cat all along. So he had he had a long-standing role as Bright Abbott in Everwood, guest starring role in the OC, and he was here and there. But Parks and Rec was his for a TV show, from a television show perspective, that was his coming out party.
Right.
One of the things that stood out with this role is that he wasn't that. He wasn't in the top 2 or 3 billing.
No.
This was a powerful, ensemble cast. But he still, even though he wasn't always given a lot to do as far as the main storyline goes,
he made the most of it.
Yeah, he made the most of it. And it was kind of that test run in a way, building up his comedic timing.
Mm-hmm.
and also working with ensemble crews when he's actually, the head,
Oh yeah.
the head cheese. So I thought that, the Parks and Rec, first, I love the show. And then I just thought that was a perfect, stepping, because that was around 2009, I think, when he started it. And, and that's when, he, during that he got into Guardians, and this, he's taken off since then.
Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't put Wanted on here as one of his movies.
That's still, every time I watch that movie and I see him in there,
I always get surprised that he's in there, and I don't know why. Like, I remember it, but yeah, no, that's cool. I liked him in Moneyball. That was the first like real like
I almost put that on there. Yes.
I thought he was really good in that.
Scott Hatterberg.
Yep. And yeah, I mean, obviously, like, the one with what was it with Vince Vaughn? Delivery Man, where Vince Vaughn had all the kids from all the semen donations and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's really funny in that, playing a dad. It's a totally different type of role for him. I joked when you told me it was Chris Pratt that you were going to put Passengers as one of these on here, and you didn't. And
I did not. Although, and I'll explain down the road why I did not later on.
Okay, so your good is Parks and Rec, which is a good one. Okay, so for me, for Billy Crudup, I told you I have Almost Famous, Without Limits, Watchmen, and then Mission Impossible 3. So my good, the good, is Watchmen. I really liked him in this role. I thought, even though for most of it he was a monotone, monochromatic, godlike figure with his junk out, his deadpan delivery sold the aloofness that had to be in Dr. Manhattan, that I think was probably much harder to do than you would think.
100%
to not have emotion get into it. And then when he does have those few scenes where he does have to have emotion as Dr. Manhattan, it was great. But then seeing the flashbacks, seeing him as John, I thought were equally as interesting. And it was kind of like, oh man, I really like to see more of that. But yeah, I thought he was really good. And like, I don't think he was the best part of that movie. I think Jackie Earle Haley stole it as my least favorite Watchmen character with Rorschach. And I really like Matthew Good's Ozymandias. But I think, like, as far as the good goes in this particular exercise, I don't know. I think Watchmen was right there for him.
Yeah, and I agree.
Yeah.
I was going to say that, some people act monotone just because their talent level is not up to par, but to actually set out to do that because of your character and do it in a way that's believable, and yet, again, one of the examples you're talking about emotion is, on the TV show when he's confronted by all of this stuff about, you gave me cancer and this and that, and just how that he's like, the emotions that are coming out from him are alien in the sense of he doesn't know how to deal with it. So that, I agree with that. That was actually a very good role for him, and a very good performance.
So, all right. Before you get to the great, let's what tell us about Chris Pratt. Like, where's he from? Where'd he come from? Because he just kind of like, he was an overnight sensation for 10 years, right? He just kind of burst on the scene, but like, I still don't like know where he's from or any of that stuff. Did you bother looking any of that up?
Yeah, I actually, had some of this up. Like, so it's kind of funny because, well, I will say, like, that whole Everwood thing, I never really watched Everwood. So that was like one of his when I say breakout, that's the wrong word. His first time being in a, consistent role was in there, but so that was what Everwood was in 2002 or something along those lines. But he's born in Virginia, Minnesota, which
weird,
interesting. Well, it's very interesting. His mother worked at a supermarket, and his dad was a remodeled homes. Cool. He's got a little bit of Norwegian, French Canadian, English, German, Swiss. He did grow up in Washington State though. So
okay.
But yeah, he's one of those guys that, like you said, he's been around for a while, but kind of played it under radar, except for the last 10 years or so. Like one of his first credited role, I should say, although that's not always. He was in the Huntress TV show.
Yeah, with Annette O'Toole.
That's funny. But yeah, so stuff like Passive Destruction, Strangers with Candy. But yeah, that 2002 Everwood was when he's kind of made a name, and I do remember the show. And I'm not going to say I didn't watch it. Like Emily Van Camp was in that, I believe.
Yeah, and Gregory Smith, who's really good, who does a lot of directing now. So. Oh,
really?
Yeah.
But I did remember him he played Shay in the OC in season 4, where he was he was a stoner character.
Okay.
That just looked like he just woke up every day, like not just like like throughout the day. So like he was just a shifty dude, and it ended up being he was like the son of a senator or something along those lines.
That's funny.
Which was pretty funny.
All right.
But
yeah.
So you want me to get to the?
So wait, he was married to Anna. What's her name?
Oh, I'm seeing her face right now.
Ferris. And now he's married to Catherine Schwarzenegger. Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Get to the chopper. Wait, no, that's not. Anyway. Yeah, it's interesting. So yeah, he's a very, so I don't know. I think he's really interesting because he's like openly Christian in Hollywood, which is normally leads to cancel culture. He did 0 Dark 30, which was really good. Although it was kind of a tale of two movies because they killed Osama bin Laden halfway through. He's done a ton of comedy. But yeah, he's a, I was joking when I said he's a movie star, but I mean, no, he's actually like a very interesting actor. I think the problem with him now is he just plays Chris Pratt.
Yeah. And that's actually where he becomes the great for me in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
And I specifically talking about Guardians Peter Quill in Volume 1. Volume 2 was okay, but he had the most to work with in Volume 1. Even though his father in Volume 2 came out, the pain and what drove him from in the first movie about his mother and what he didn't do as a child while she died, that on top of some of the stuff, him cutting his teeth in like Parks and Rec, the comedic timing, like, because basically Andy Dwyer was a man-child, and
yeah,
that's the same thing Peter Quill is, but Peter Quill also has that dual role of being a badass space pirate, basically. So he has that swashbuckling role. So I think Parks and Rec helped groom him to be that, the Peter Quill. And what I love about, this movie is that, he's a silly guy, but he's doing it because of his insecurities and because of his fears and because of his shame for what he did, not taking his mother's hand. And like, he doesn't have a lot, like, and one of my favorite MCU scenes is, and it still gives me goosebumps every time I see it, is at the end of Guardians when he grabs the Power Stone and he sees his mother and she says, "Take my hand." And just the look on his face, and just like when he says, "Mom," I mean, that's like Chris Pratt right there, just being able to channel that emotional pain of his character. And that's why I think, Marvel does such a great job getting the right actors for these characters.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just amazing. And this is like, again, we still have Guardians 3 to come out whenever, but
in
for me, this is
47.
But this for me is like, this is his seminal role at this moment.
Absolutely.
Who knows what's going to come for Chris Pratt, down in the future. He still has the Jurassic World, Owen Gray or whatever.
Yep.
But I thought he was good in, but it's not enough to make an impact on this list, what we're doing now. Yeah. But Guardians 1, specifically Guardians 1, that's his great role for me.
So the best thing about Guardians 1 actually goes back to Parks and Rec, when he shows back up, and he's all skinny, and he's like, I lost 50 pounds. I just stopped drinking beer.
Yeah.
And it was like, and Rob Lowe's like, what? But they also never accentuated the fact that he was totally ripped. That they had him wearing like the most Andy thing ever, right?
Andy
he
Dwyer,
just wore
yeah.
Andy's clothes. He never bought new clothes that fit him. He was just wearing the clothes that were 3-4 sizes too big. But yeah, no, that's a good one. That's I agree with you 100%. That's the role that made him, and yeah. So all right, so I had to do 2 for the great for mine.
Okay.
So I did Almost Famous, from the year 2000, the Cameron Crowe movie, and then Without Limits, which was produced by. It was actually the first movie by Cruise and Wagner. That they made. So in Almost Famous, he plays the Stillwater guitarist Russell Hammond, who he's just this rock star who's struggling like with who he is as an artist, who he is as a man, and he decides to take this young kid, William Miller, who's a writer who conned his way into being a writer for Rolling Stone because he was such a good writer, and it was the 70s and they didn't meet anybody. And he takes William under his wing, and takes him on the road, is teaching him the ropes, and the entire time, like, Billy is super likable and like so charming, and like you're rooting for Russell the whole time, like even when he and I put here, even when he figuratively stabs William in the heart, but he makes it right. Like that's the beauty of it. And the thing is he's super earnest and he's super down to earth. And there's a scene, it's in the preview of the movie, where he's on top of this roof and he just yells out, "I'm a golden god," because he's baked to his, just out of his mind. And yeah, it's like, it's just such a great role. And it's always been, to me, one of the roles that I judge him against for everything else that he does.
So I can't give you much on that. I've only seen Almost Famous bits and pieces.
Oh, dude, you're missing out. It's Cameron Crowe. It's my favorite Cameron Crowe movie.
Right. And I honestly, like, Without Limits, I think I've
I haven't talked about it. Yeah, I'll get to Without Limits in a sec.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing, is the movie is a pseudo autobiographical about Cameron Crowe when he was 17 or whatever and got a job writing for Rolling Stone, and I forget who he went on tour with, but yeah, it's really, really interesting. So and I don't mean I interrupted, so.
Oh, no, that's fine. You had a lot more to say than me.
All right. So my second one is Without Limits, Under the Great. And part of this is bias. So he plays American distance runner Steve Prefontaine, who was legitimately my hero when I was a kid. He died in the early 70s before we were born, but he was a distance runner and I was a runner. And Billy just captures the essence of Steve so well and really does a great job showcasing the best and worst sides of Steve. He was super competitive. He was always he was more clever than he should have been. And, he had his own demons and things. But I think what really puts this in the great is, for me, is they show the scenes of the 1972 Olympics in Munich when the Israeli Olympic team was kidnapped and murdered.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve Prefontaine is a descendant of German Jews, and he was raised in a German-speaking house, and so he was very close to the Israeli athletes.
Oh, wow!
And so the pain that Steve felt, like Billy does an amazing job showing it, and Steve put it into everything that he had. I mean, he ended up finishing fourth. He was like 22 years old. Finished fourth in the 5,000 meters against the three best runners in the world, and the only reason he got fourth is because they boxed him in and they wouldn't let him run his race because they knew they couldn't beat him. But yeah, I just think when you want to watch these biopics, whatever you want to call them, sometimes it's like, oh, look at this guy playing this guy. And there was another one called Prefontaine where Jared Leto attempted to play Steve Prefontaine and failed miserably. That whole time you're watching get out of here, Jared Leto. But here he really captured like what it was, and it's very rare that you see a character actor like him take the lead role and really make like just kind of fade into it. Because I mean, even in Almost Famous, I mean, he's not the top billed actor. He's the Patrick Fugit is the top billed actor there. And then Kate Hudson is probably number 2, and then Russell would probably be the third. Like, he was probably third on that call sheet. But like every scene he's in with Jason Lee, it's a battle for who is stealing that scene. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize, because I'm not into, I know the name Steve Prefontaine, but I didn't realize he was only like 24 when he died.
Yeah,
or 25.
He was he died in a car accident. He ran off the road. Unfortunately, he had a little bit to drink and was driving, and another car came into his lane, as the story goes. And you can go. I mean, it's a very famous site in Eugene where he wrapped his car around a tree.
Wow.
But like like the 72 Olympics like destroyed him on a personal level, and he was making a comeback. And I think knowing what I knew about him like really formed how I competed. And so when this movie came out in 1998 while we were in college, it was right after, it was right after my first knee surgery, and I was very, just protective of it, and I enjoy it. So I had the VHS, I had the DVD, I had the Blu-ray, I have a digital. So
you have it on everything.
I do actually. I was actually watching it while I was writing show notes.
But
yeah.
No, to be honest, going a little bit away from this, but when you said, "Hey, it's on my list because it's biased," that's what movies are about, though. Yep. Certain movies that hey, if I look at it objectively, this movie or that movie might be better, but this movie really affected me on an emotional level, whether it just be because I could relate to it, the situations, circumstances, or the characters. Doesn't matter what it is. There's something about certain movies that they stick with you, and that's why. And again, we were talking about opening the movies. In the time like this, I think more than ever, we need these distractions.
Yep.
To raise ourselves up in some cases from the doldrums of being trapped not trapped at home, but I'm going a little bit overboard with that, but yeah, and that's also fine, man.
Yeah.
Just
every single movie on my list I saw in the theater. I mean, you and I went and we did before the advanced ticket seat sales were a thing where you pick your seat, and they had the food in the theaters. Like, we saw that, and like I told you when we left Watchmen for that, I'm like, man, I'm really glad we picked those seats, because like it was cool that people could bring us stuff so we didn't have to get up because it was so long.
Yeah.
So, all right. So maybe this isn't the right role for him.
So you mentioned Passengers.
Yeah. So it's obviously Passengers.
No. And I actually, and this is a funny reason why I didn't pick Passengers. There's a YouTuber named Nando V the Movies or something along those lines. And what he does is he'll change something here or there in a movie to try to make it better. And he did that with Passengers, and I wish before we did that, so I would wish I'd rewatched it, because it's been over like a couple years since I've watched this. But Passengers was kind of like it was one of those movies again that just had all this potential, and it just didn't hit it, which is why this is a good segue, because Magnificent Seven did the same thing.
Yeah, Magnificent Seven wasn't good.
Has a great cast. It has Denzel, it has Chris Pratt, it has Ethan Hawke. It's a great cast, but the movie itself, when you compare it to the original Magnificent Seven, the Yul Brynner version from 1960, or going back to the Kurosawa, the original material, which is the Seven Samurai from 1954, it's just lacking. And Chris Pratt, you would think that with him being knocking it out of the park with a swashbuckler type role as Peter Quill, he would have been able to channel that same type of his that inner role.
Yeah.
But as Faraday, he doesn't come across as someone in the Wild West.
I felt like he was too much of a cross between Star-Lord and Owen Gray.
Yeah.
And not enough of, like you said, the cowboy from the Old West. I also think the problem with this movie is Denzel was just Denzel. Chris Pratt was really just Chris Pratt, and Ethan Hawke was really just Ethan Hawke. And then Vincent D'Onofrio looked like he was missing the set of Daredevil the whole time. So
yeah, and it's a disappointment because I remember seeing the previews for this movie and seeing who was in it and knowing the original story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge Western guy. I'm the one that used to watch all the Clint Eastwood movies when I was younger. Fistful of Dollars, Hang 'em High, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Yeah. All those spaghetti westerns.
The Mule.
Yeah. So. Yeah, or the Wild Bunch, stuff like that. Like I'm a huge fan of westerns. So anytime Tombstone,
mm-hmm.
That's a little bit earlier in the 90s, but Unforgiven. I love westerns. Bone Tomahawk is one I really like. But this one was just short in every aspect, and even if Chris Pratt would have done a better job, the movie would have lacked. But he kind of fell into that same thing, like you were saying. Like he did not channel his inner cowboy. It was more of Chris Pratt, and that's where the movie as a whole fell for me, and his participation in it fell. And I don't know if being in a Western is quite the thing for him. Although he's going to be in a new, he's cast to be in that what is it called? It's like Cowboy Alien Ninja or something like that.
Oh, yeah. I think that's exactly what it's called. Cowboy Ninja Alien, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, I don't know if that's going to be... I mean, that's still on the list, but there's, stuff ahead of that. But I don't know if that's kind of like the genre for him.
I don't know.
To be honest. So, yeah, we'll see.
Yep.
But, yeah.
Cool. All right, so my last one is the maybe this wasn't the right role for you was Mission Impossible 3, where he played the bad guy in the movie. He was the bad CIA agent essentially.
Right.
And hold on, I forgot his name and I didn't write it down. Where he played John Musgrave.
He was that
Musgrave.
I was about to say he was that forgettable.
No, he wasn't forgettable, but the thing is the minute he came on screen, you're like, oh, he's the bad guy. And it had nothing to do with him, but he's such a likable actor. And when he's going through and being this just this smarmy, character. And Mission Impossible 3 came off the heels of Mission Impossible 2, which is one of the worst movies, which is the worst movie in the franchise.
Absolutely.
By all measure, after Mission Impossible 3, the Universal, Paramount, whoever does it, should have told Tom Cruise to go fuck himself. And we're not making any more of these. If this is what you're gonna put out, and of course this is the J.J. Abrams one.
Your boy.
Anyway, it even had Grunberg in it, man. I mean, come on. Are you kidding me? Grunberg.
I think you want to fight Grunberg.
I don't want to fight Grunberg. And I would be perfectly nice and cordial to him, but I'm tired of him showing up in things I like and just being Greg Grunberg in them. I'm gonna pick Greg Grunberg from one of my actors these days. It's just gonna be everything is everything's gonna be maybe this was the right role for you, except for Felicity. He was fine in Felicity.
Yeah, he was good in Felicity.
But anyway, at no point in the movie did you not see his heel turn coming, and it was really just kind of a waste of a role for him. And I think it also had to do with the fact that he and Tom Cruise had zero chemistry when we thought they were supposed to be friends. And I don't think that's a fault to either one of the actors. I think it was just the piss poor writing. And, it's just dude, I get it. You did this one for money. Or I hope he did it for money. I hope he didn't read that script and be man, this is badass. And so, yeah, I mean, and everybody has those. And, again, it just wasn't the right role for him. He wasn't bad in it. It didn't work.
It's funny. Just going real quick back to Mission Impossible 2. I remember I was showing one of my. This was several years ago. I was like, "Oh, you should watch the Mission Impossible series, and we'll start with 1 and 2 or whatever." And I'm like, "Oh, 2 is so good." And granted, I hadn't seen it in like 10 years. And we were watching it, and I'm like, "Oh my god, this movie is not good."
No.
It was a struggle to get through that movie.
Right.
And I did like some of the ideas from MI3, but to your point, yeah, spoiler alert for Fallout, Mission Impossible Fallout. It wasn't like Henry Cavill, his role in Mission Impossible Fallout.
Yeah.
It was similar role in the sense of what was going on with the character, but the writing for Fallout was far superior. The writing and directing of Fallout was far superior to Mission Impossible 3. So, and again, like you said, it's not that he necessarily did a terrible job in MI3. It's just that the circumstances around it, like just kind of like what I was saying with Chris Pratt. Although I think Crudup is a better like overall actor than Chris Pratt. So he has a little bit more range. But they're in the similar circumstances where the vehicle itself did not do them any favors.
Yeah, and I mean, like Mission Impossible 2 was in 2000. Mission Impossible 3 was in 2006, and then Rogue Nation was the next one was in like
Ghost Protocol.
Was it Ghost Protocol? Have there been 3 new ones?
Yeah, Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, Fallout. Like Ghost Protocol was in 2011. Rogue Nation, I think 2015.
2011, 2015, and then 2019 or 2018. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So it's just like by all means, this should have killed this franchise, and it wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
But, it just wasn't the right role for him. Anyway. Yeah. It is what it is. And but yeah.
And that sometimes happens. So it isn't. Sometimes the circumstance it happens. Sometimes it's, like you said, sometimes a guy will mail it in for a paycheck, like Bruce Willis seems to do half the time now. But talk about a guy playing himself, like Bruce Willis. I was like, wow. Anyway, although I do love him in the Red movies, the 2 of them that were.
Oh, I didn't see the second one, but the first one has that awesome scene where he does the skid in the car and he like comes out as the car is like skidding around him and he just starts shooting at Carl Urban. But I'll tell you this, if Carl Urban's in a movie, you've got a 80% chance it's going to be really good because that guy just knows how to pick good stuff to be involved in.
Yeah, so, I really like Carl Urban.
Me too.
Huge.
So I'm really excited for The Boys to come back in August.
Oh, I can't wait.
So, or is that September?
September, because we were talking about September 4th, I think, isn't it? Something like that.
September the 4th. Anyway, interesting. Okay, this just broke today. Amazon. Did you ever read the graphic novel Paper Girls by Brian K. Vaughan?
Actually was reading it. I read like the first 4 or 5 issues.
Okay, so it's kind of, if you guys don't know, it's kind of like Stranger Things, but girls on a paper route. And it looks like Amazon has picked up the adaptation to take it to series.
Interesting.
The first 15 issues were really good, and then it got really, really strange. And yeah, but if you guys don't know, Brian K. Vaughan is the guy who does Saga, Why the Last Man, Ex Machina. He did a really interesting like Canadian comic book called We Stand on Guard. Where it was like a post-apocalyptic Canada, and like it was really quite interesting. But yeah,
there are so many jokes for that.
It's so many, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. So I'm kind of excited to see what happens here with the Comic-Con at home stuff, and see what comes out of this this next few days.
Yeah, I am. Like I said, I watched the New Mutants trailer, and I am really, cautiously excited for this movie. Because I've been looking forward to it for 6 years now. It seems like.
That's just in 2020.
Yeah,
6 years.
So yeah, I'm curious to see some of the stuff that's going on, this week for Comic-Con.
Yeah.
See some of the stuff we're gonna get out of it.
Yeah, it should be interesting. And at least they're still finding the time to release stuff and share some news. So, but yeah.
Yeah, they had the panel. It was cool. It was pretty cool. I didn't watch. I just watched the trailer part of New Mutants, but they had the entire cast, in the Zoom call talking about it. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So hopefully it sticks to that August 28th date.
I don't know. I've been having fun following. Just kind of, we're done. Following the Johnny Depp Amber Heard stuff. Have you been following any of that?
Oh, a little bit of it.
It's just like all of the he said, she said. But then you look at her and you look at Johnny Depp and all right, she could kick the crap out of him with just one hand tied behind her back. He's so emaciated and little. But just the weirdness that's come out of it, pooping on someone's bed. Who does that?
That's something a cat would do.
Yeah,
that's actually something a cat.
I'm sure
that's
Cooper's
something a
done
cat
that.
had.
Yeah, Cooper's done that too.
Cat did that with my ex years ago. Is because he was like, dude, this is my territory, and he pooped on her bed. I was like, this is a thing. Twice, by the way.
Yeah.
And he kind of warmed up to me. He's like, okay, you're fine, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. I watched this series trailer for Utopia, the one with John Cusack and Kaz from the Expanse.
Cass Amber?
Yeah, Cass Amber. It looks interesting. It's an 8-episode conspiracy thriller type thing. I don't know. I was excited because Cass was on the live stream, so
Nice. So hopefully some of this shit blows over.
Yeah, hopefully all of that has gone under and away. But yeah, I don't know. It's very, very interesting. Oh, The Boys was renewed for season 3 already.
That is just beautiful news.
The Boys renewed Aisha Tyler to host an after show. We don't need an after show for everything.
Why do they think everything needs an after show?
And why do they think Aisha Tyler needs to do it?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Aisha Tyler.
I mean, I do too, but
it's not necessary. It's not necessary. We don't need it. And it's a streaming. So did you hear what they're going to do with The Boys? I think they're going to do it weekly. They're going to release the first 3 episodes, and then after that, it's supposed to be weekly. I don't know if that was confirmed.
Cool.
100%,
that'll give us 5 weeks to talk about stuff.
Yeah, I personally like having doing that. Just release the first 2 or 3 episodes, and then just do it weekly with the regular other shows.
Yeah, I mean, I like it because I get to watch every episode 2 or 3 times. So
yeah, right.
But yeah, I don't know. So we had talked about Old Guard last week, and I continued my Charlize mini marathon and watched Mad Max. I watched The Long Shot, and then I watched Fate of the Furious. And I totally forgot that the guy Laz Alonso, who plays Mother's Milk, was the dude who played Mother's Milk in The Boys, was the dude on Cuba who tried to wreck his car. And it's like, holy crap.
When you started talking about that, it just popped in my head. I completely forgot about that. Because I haven't seen it since I started watching The Boys.
Right.
But
yeah, it was just
hilarious.
It was really, really funny. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm excited for The Boys. Umbrella Academy coming out next week is really, really good. And awesome to know.
Yeah, that trailer for season 2 looks bonkers.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
But yeah, anyway. All right. Well, cool, man. Anything else you want to add?
No, nothing much. There's nothing going. Oh, if you have a PS4, I would suggest getting Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh yeah, I gotta download that one because I already own the other 2 games.
Oh man,
I hate it when that happens. Nickelodeon's got a Star Trek series coming. It doesn't say if it's animated or not. But it's going to be called Star Trek Prodigy. Okay. Debuting in 2021, follows a group of lawless teens who discover a derelict Starfleet ship and use it to search for adventure and meaning and salvation. No, God, I threw up in my mouth.
Okay. This is the thing about that. Like, even with Lower Decks, like, I don't want Star Trek. I don't like, and again, who knows about the whole Nickelodeon show? I don't know. But what I'm going at is just the Nickelodeon shows that I know.
Mm-hmm.
Just leave Star Trek to be a more serious vehicle with humor in it, not like humor with snippets of serious and adventure and stuff. Just please don't do this, people. Yep. Don't do this.
I agree 100%. So.
I swear, people.
Yep. All right. Cool. On that note, we'll talk to you guys next week. Make sure you like, share. 5-star reviews would be outstanding. Show Darryl that love that he so desperately craves.
I have my Baby Yoda bobblehead I'm looking at right now. Looking
God.
into the soulful eyes.
Oh, funny story is I ordered 2 of the Moff Gideon because I was going to give you one, and then you ordered 2 of them.
Well, I ordered it like about a month or 2 ago.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I had it in my cart, and then I finally bought it because I don't know.
Yeah, I hate the carts.
Yeah.
Sometimes. I lost the Storm Shadow. I was going to get they're doing the G.I. Joe retros.
Oh, yeah.
Like the 3.75. I had Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow in my cart. Went to check out. Storm Shadow's gone. That really irritated me.
Yeah, that's gotta suck. So, did you get all 4 of the Clone Wars Black Series from last week? Okay.
Yeah, right.
So, because I did do 2 of each of those. So, anyway. All right. Well, cool. On that note, guys, we will be back next week, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
See ya.
The Infamous Podcast is recorded in Kings Mills, Ohio, just north of Cincinnati, with new episodes out every Sunday. You can find more information about the show online at infamouspodcast.com or on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as @InfamousPodcast. You can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, or your favorite podcatching app. If you're enjoying the show, consider giving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or check out our Patreon at patreon.com/infamouspodcast for our new tiers and rewards. The Infamous Podcast is hosted and produced by me, Brian Tudor, with music provided by Michael Henry from meetmichaelhenry.com. You can find me on social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as @BrianTudor. So, whenever you're listening to the show, have a great day, night, evening, weekend, whenever it is. And we'll see you next time. Later.